Every so often, I come across pockets of wilderness, places which aren't stressed or deprived of their natural beauty, standing out in the landscape. They provide us with a glimpse into the past, showing us what we've lost and really what could still come back. Until recently, Scotland's rainforests, and indeed Britain's rainforests, haven't really got the recognition that they deserve. They're one of the UK's most biodiverse habitats, and I think one of our most beautiful too. It's certainly had a difficult history, but if you know where to look, you can find it. And thankfully, there's a lot of good work being done to try and help this habitat come back. I'm going to be searching for a very rare lichen, yellow speckle belly. Now, this is a lichen which is globally rare, but it can be found in Scotland's temperate rainforest, so I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that. Yellow speckle belly is an epiphyte. Now, epiphyte is the name given to the group of plants which grow on other plants. These really define the appearance of temperate rainforest, and I think add to the beauty of it too. These epiphytes are often mosses, ferns, lichens and liverworts, and they grow seemingly everywhere, along branches, the stems of trees, as well as on boulders and fallen and decaying wood. When you take a moment to just stop and look at one branch, you realise that you're actually looking at layers of these curious and quirky life forms. I think they really do need to be celebrated. Temperate rainforest doesn't form due to certain tree species or types of woodland. It's actually the weather conditions which determine where this habitat forms. Woodlands with high annual rainfall and humidity that keep a relatively mild temperature throughout the year will be temperate rainforest. In Scotland, it's also known as Atlantic rainforest or Celtic rainforest, and it's predominantly found along the west coast of the country, overlapping with broadleaf woodlands of species like birch, hazel and oak, but also the impressive Caledonian pine forest. Wow, what a beast of a pine tree, and it's covered in, is it lichens, mosses? Oh, I know this one. This is called Black Eye Susan. This is a lichen. Do you see this one here? It's got these little black dots on it. This is known as Black-eyed Susan. This is another lichen that's pretty widespread throughout Scotland, but is otherwise globally rare. However, it's not as rare as yellow speckle belly though, which we're yet to find. This rainforest I'm exploring really is a wonderful example of Scotland's native forest ecosystems. You have the ancient broadleaves which line the river, and as you make your way along the hill you encounter pines of different ages, some huge and old that stand proud without dominating the ecosystem around them. Instead, they spread out, giving each other space, allowing light to other trees and plants to thrive in the understory beneath. This habitat would have once covered much of the country, coast to coast, a patchwork of native forests, peat bogs, wetlands, and everything in between. And throughout this habitat today, you'll likely see a red squirrel, maybe even a pine marten if your luck's in. And if you're really lucky, you might just see a wildcat. These forest habitats are some of the UK's best offering of natural and native life, but in reality, they're not as wild nor as vast as they once were. As they've declined, so too have many of the animals which would have once called them home. Most notably, it's the three apex predators: bears, wolves and lynx. They've been missing from Scotland for many centuries, if not over 1,000 years. Scotland's appearance isn't entirely a result of their absence, but the emptiness of many of the glens, I think, can be in part attributed to the loss of these species. And Scotland's temperate rainforest has had a similar history of decline, being cleared for its resources and generally for land use change. It's left behind small, isolated and less resilient patches. Temperate rainforest isn't just scarce in Scotland, but it's actually very rare globally, covering just 1% of the world's surface. This makes the rainforest that we have in Scotland even more precious. So where am I? How comes this patch of Cali pine forest, this patch of temperate rainforest has been able to hold on? Well, I'm in a place known as Pokin. This is in Glenloy. And about 100 years ago, this area was designated. It must have stood out for its natural beauty. It still holds it today. And back then they thought, you know what, this is worth protecting. And all around they put a deer fence too, so that's helped with overgrazing. And the deer in Scotland, the deer are one of the biggest reasons why the Cali pine forest can't recover, why Scotland's woodland habitats can't recover. There's just too many deer on the land. And you know, you have these beautiful old trees, these granny pines which would give seed to the next generation of the forest, but the trees, they just can't establish in many places. Another threat to Scotland's rainforest, and indeed the recovery of the rainforest, is non-native conifer plantations. Now, forestry is needed. I'm not saying forestry is bad at all, but sometimes these plantations can end up in the wrong place, in places that really don't make sense. And the thing is that these non-native species like Sitka spruce, they grow much faster than the native pines and the oaks. And I was recently at a Mossy Earth project where they've been working to remove some of these non-natives from an area of Scotland's temperate rainforest. So far here, they've been taking out the non-natives. They've been using more traditional methods, harvesting like big machines, and they've also been using some low impact, which is like basically using hand tools, using rope pulleys to pull the logs out, and using a horse known as Tarzan as well to pull the trees through some quite sensitive areas. You can see the whole area here where the non-natives have been felled, and look, you can see the birches just standing up there free. And if this project sounds like something that you want to support, then you can become a Mossy Earth member, where you'll be supporting our whole host of rewilding projects. I'll leave a link to this down in the comments. So as much as I'm enjoying my time here amongst the pines, I don't think I'm going to find my yellow specklebelly here, my rare Lykan. I think if I'm going to find that, I'm going to have to head back down there, because from what I understand, it likes to grow on broadleaf species such as hazel and birch, and down there, there's a wonderful clump of it. So let's go see what we can find. That looks like it's slipped. Whoa! Yeah! Whoa! Always fun making your way through a Cali pine wood understory. Lycans do not have roots, so they get their water and nutrients from the atmosphere around them. They can grow on boulders, branches, and usually on top of wet mosses. You see, lichens grow when they're wet, and they stop if they're not. If they stay dry for too long, they become brittle, going dormant. A process known as, now get ready to hear a new word, which I'm most likely going to say wrong, poikilohydry. I would have just said we could have used the word crusty, but there's actually specific crust-forming lichens. It's a rich world with tens of thousands of species, and that's just the lichens. We haven't even considered the other bryophytes. Now, I'm no botanist, so I could quite easily overlook this, but I'm going to take my time and just see if I can see it. So this is yellow specklebelly. This is the first patch I found, and it is very striking. I mean, look at the way it just forms on the branch of this hazel here, and yeah, it's definitely yellow. Now, this lichen used to be widespread across the UK. I think you can only find it in a couple of locations down south. But actually here in Scotland, it's pretty abundant. But it is rare, like nationally, like globally, it is very rare. So it's pretty special that you can find it here. I want to go see what else I can find. See if I can find another clump of it somewhere. It's declined in part due to air pollution. You know, this lichen needs clean air. But it's also declined because of deforestation. You know, if these trees aren't here, then it's got nothing to grow on. I mean, I'd be surprised if I don't find it on this one. Look at this, look at the detail, look at the layers. Look at it. Oh, I think we might have found another bit here. This bit isn't quite as yellow, but it's definitely yellow and speckled. It's just not that much of a big clump of it, but I found it. I'm gonna keep going because I want to find some more. I don't care if I'm gonna get wet feet. This is worth it. Wow. I mean, this piece of wood is a stunning piece of wood. It's literally amazing.